President Trump also announced a new trade deal with the UK. All that Britain demands in return is that we keep these two.
No! I refuse! I'm sick of it! Turns out Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will still get paid millions of dollars for doing absolutely.
It all started with a joke on live television that Meghan Markle probably never saw coming. On Saturday Night Live, in front of millions of people, comedian Colin Jost looked straight at the camera and humiliated Meghan and Prince Harry with just one sentence. He said President Trump announced a new trade deal with the UK, and all Britain wanted in return was that America keeps these two. The audience laughed loudly, but it wasn't just a normal joke. It was the moment when people stopped seeing Harry and Meghan as royals who walked away from the crown. They started seeing them as a joke themselves. For years, Harry and Meghan tried to present themselves as brave, modern, and independent. They left the royal family, moved to America, signed multi-million-dollar deals, and claimed they just wanted privacy. But slowly, the public started noticing the cracks in their story. The fancy houses, the Netflix shows, the endless interviews, and constant media attention made people wonder, were they really after privacy, or was it all just for fame? After Colin Jost's joke on SNL, it felt like a floodgate had opened. Other comedians and TV hosts jumped in one after another. Trevor Noah joked that Meghan probably looked at Harry and told him to get a job. Jimmy Kimmel laughed at the fact they moved to America to escape racism, as if that made any sense. Even their private nicknames, H and M, were turned into a joke by Stephen Colbert on The Late Show. It wasn't just about silly jokes. There was a serious message behind the laughter. People were frustrated. They saw two rich, privileged celebrities complain about how hard life was, all while living in million-dollar mansions and signing huge deals. Their Netflix show, for example, made headlines not for what they achieved, but because it looked like they got paid millions for doing almost nothing. The cartoons didn't hold back either. South Park made a whole episode mocking their endless talks about privacy, while constantly being in the spotlight. Family Guy made quick, brutal jokes about them getting paid for no real work. Suddenly, Harry and Meghan were not the royal rebels anymore. They were the face of contradictions. But the worst damage wasn't from comedy shows. It came from their own awkward moments, like when Harry sat down with Stephen Colbert for an interview. Instead of clearing things up, his strange answers and passive-aggressive behaviour made him look even more lost. He couldn't hide how uncomfortable he was, and that awkward energy gave comedians even more fuel to roast him. The jokes kept coming, and so did the public embarrassment. One after another, comedians tore apart the image Harry and Meghan had tried so hard to create. Ricky Gervais, known for never holding back, made fun of their royal entitlement. He talked about performing at events where celebrities like Harry, William, Madonna, and Paul McCartney were sitting in the audience. None of them even paid for a ticket. It was yet another reminder of how out of touch the rich and famous can be, especially those who act like victims while living lives most people can only dream of. Then came John Mulaney, who didn't waste time with long setups. He simply called Harry a dumb ginger for giving up his royal title because he didn't like his 94-year-old grandmother. The audience laughed because it was blunt, but many agreed. Walking away from the royal family sounded bold in the beginning, but now people were questioning if it was just a foolish decision driven by ego and poor planning. For some comedians, it wasn't just about jokes, it became personal. Tim Dillon went even further, calling Meghan an annoying, insufferable woman and questioning her intelligence. He pointed out how Meghan seemed to look down on ordinary people while pretending to help them with things like jam and honey from her lifestyle brand. It wasn't hard for people to connect the dots. Meghan's fancy products and perfectly staged photos didn't scream hard work or real change. They looked more like a celebrity cash grab. The most brutal blow, though, came from someone with real authority to speak on these issues, Chris Rock. Known for his sharp takes on race and society, Chris first appeared to support Meghan's complaints about racism within the royal family. But then, with his usual sharp humour, he flipped the script. He reminded everyone that even black families talk about how dark a baby's skin might be before birth. His message was clear: not every uncomfortable conversation is racism. And by playing that card too quickly, Harry and Meghan only made themselves look more out of touch. But the worst part wasn't the jokes or the criticism. It was the realization that people weren't even angry anymore. They were just tired. Tired of the same old story. Tired of the contradictions. Tired of the fancy speeches that didn't match the reality. British comedian Simon Brodkin summed it up perfectly. He admitted he wasn't a fan of the couple before, but after watching their Netflix documentary and hearing their side of the story, he actually started hating them. Their dramatic retelling of normal royal life, the made-up nicknames, and the endless self-pity was too much to handle. For many, that documentary was supposed to win hearts. Instead, it confirmed the worst suspicions. The more Harry and Meghan spoke, the more the public turned against them. It wasn't just the comedians anymore. Regular people were noticing the contradictions in everything they said. One moment, they claimed to be victims of royal life. The next, they were showing off million-dollar deals, red carpet appearances, and new business ventures. Their story stopped making sense, and once that happened, the jokes only got louder. One of the biggest moments that exposed their confusion was Prince Harry's interview with Stephen Colbert. It was supposed to be a serious conversation. Instead, it became one of the most awkward public appearances Harry has ever had. When Colbert tried to offer him advice using a simple movie quote, Harry completely missed the point. The quote was, "Let us have an end to this debate about what makes a good man and be one." It was clear, powerful, and meant to help Harry. But Harry's reply, "Good knowledge," it didn't just sound awkward, it showed how completely lost he seemed when it came to his public image. That awkward energy followed him everywhere. In another part of the interview, Harry made a passive-aggressive joke about how they would edit out the bad parts. His face, his tone, and his words made it obvious. He was uncomfortable, frustrated, and out of place. The audience noticed, and so did the critics. It wasn't just about the jokes anymore. It was about Harry and Meghan struggling to fit in with the very world they had chosen over the palace. The most brutal part of all this came when cartoons like South Park and Family Guy joined the attack. South Park dedicated a whole episode to mocking their hypocrisy. They called it the Worldwide Privacy Tour. In the episode, Harry and Meghan fly around on a private jet, shouting through megaphones that they want privacy. The message was obvious. The couple didn't really want privacy, they wanted attention, and they were willing to say anything to get it. Family Guy didn't waste time with long stories. Their jokes were quick, brutal, and straight to the point. They made fun of the couple getting paid millions for doing nothing. They imagined them living in a world of fake sponsored posts, staged social media content, and endless cash without any real work. It was harsh, but for many viewers, it felt true. The jokes, the interviews, the documentaries, and the public appearances all pointed to the same conclusion. Harry and Meghan's biggest problem wasn't the media or the comedians, it was themselves. Their own words, their own choices, and their own contradictions turned them into a global punchline. After all the jokes, the mockery, and the awkward interviews, one thing is clear. This was never just about a royal couple leaving the palace. It became a lesson for the world about authenticity. You can't claim to hate fame while chasing the spotlight. You can't preach hardship while living in luxury. And sooner or later, the public sees through the act. For Harry and Meghan, the punchlines have replaced the fairy tale. And now, the real question is, can they ever escape the jokes? Or is their story permanently written as the world's most expensive contradiction? If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more real, no-nonsense stories. Let me know in the comments, do you think Harry and Meghan can still fix their public image?